My beloved husband was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and I immersed myself in work to cope with the grief. One day, a man claiming to be a lawyer approached me.
Your husband has requested $30,000 in compensation. Are you taking advantage of his illness to have an affair?
The man confidently presented photos as evidence of infidelity, but I had no idea what he was talking about. He continued.
We've already investigated, and it's clear you're neglecting your sick husband while pursuing other men.
His self-assured words left me stunned. Feeling like my entire existence was being invalidated, I decided to bring the man home to reveal the truth. Along the way, I made sure to signal a secret sign to a neighbor lady we passed by. I'm Kate Brown, 27 years old. Currently, I run and manage multiple web media platforms to make a living. As I stared at the various characters on my computer screen in the living room, pondering my next move, my husband Michael walked in from the kitchen. He handed me a steaming cup of coffee. Thank you. I smiled at my partner, who was not only my spouse but also my work companion. Back in college, I loved writing, so I started working as a web writer. However, diving into the unknown, I hit a wall after just a few months. That's when a friend introduced me to someone else in the web writing field, Michael, who would later become my husband. Michael, with more experience than me, taught me everything from writing skills to securing jobs. Initially, we were just good work buddies, but as our time together grew, our relationship evolved into something sweeter. Before we knew it, we became indispensable to each other, from work partners to cherished lovers. After graduating, we both became independent web writers and started creating and managing web media together. As our work thrived, so did our relationship, transitioning from beloved partners to an irreplaceable family. My husband and I, now married, mostly work from home, sharing both work and private life. When I mention this to friends, they're surprised. You're together so much, doesn't it get annoying? But somehow, our wavelengths align perfectly, and I find it comfortable. Perhaps it's thanks to Michael's always calm and gentle nature. I never doubted that this life with my beloved husband would continue indefinitely. One day, at a friend's suggestion, we decided to undergo cancer screenings. Despite both of us being generally healthy and joking about how illness was far from our minds, we took the opportunity. The relative of our friend had been diagnosed with cancer, prompting us to prioritize our health. The results showed nothing concerning for me, but Michael needed further tests. At that moment, I felt a sense of unease. Michael, ever optimistic.
It'll be fine. Nothing's wrong.
But I couldn't shake my worry. When the detailed test results came in, it revealed that Michael had cancer. Worse, the doctors informed us it was already in the advanced stages due to delayed detection. Hearing this, I crumbled on the spot. Michael has cancer. And it's advanced? Until then, our annual health checkups had shown no major issues. Occasionally, he'd feel under the weather, but since he could work from home, he rarely visited the hospital. If only I had noticed something back then, if only I had forcefully taken him to the hospital. Regret floods my mind, but the overwhelming fear of losing him paralyzes any rational thought. Michael was admitted immediately, and I visited him every day during work breaks. His serene smile greeted me during those visits, and he eagerly asked about our joint progress in our work. Seeing that expression, I felt an unwavering determination to protect our shared endeavors. Even as tears welled up, I continued working. But any lapse in focus would drown me in anxiety over Michael's impending absence. So, alongside our web media work, I took up a cashier job at the nearby supermarket, hoping to distract myself from the grief. As those days continued, a little time passed. Following my usual routine, I visited Michael in the hospital, And after finishing my shift at the supermarket, I headed home. Once I'm back, I'll work on web tasks and then tackle some house cleaning, I thought, planning my next steps. As I walked, suddenly the scenery before me warped, and I hurriedly sat down. What's happening? I feel nauseous. My vision spun, and cold sweat wouldn't stop. Feeling helpless, I remained seated. Then, I heard a surprised voice. Huh? Someone approached, footsteps quickening. A gentle hand rested on my shoulder as I looked up to see an unfamiliar middle-aged woman gazing at me with concern.
What's wrong? Are you okay?
She asked. Mumbling that I felt unwell, I tried to stand despite my still spinning vision. But the woman supported me, saying,
Come this way.
She half-dragged me to a nearby house in the familiar residential area. Where is this? I asked, staring blankly at the house. The woman replied,
This is my home. Rest here for now.
Leading me inside. Despite being strangers, I inexplicably felt reassured by the warmth of the woman's hand. I followed her lead, allowing her to guide me. In her living room, she offered me water, and I lay down on the sofa as she instructed. While I rested, she wrung out a cool towel and placed it on my forehead, covering me with a blanket. After a while, my previously shaky vision stabilized, and the cold sweat subsided. Slowly sitting up on the sofa, I faced the woman who had been concerned about me.
Are you feeling better now?
She asked, her voice filled with worry. Yes, thanks to you, I've calmed down considerably. Truly, thank you, I replied, expressing my gratitude. Then, realizing I hadn't introduced myself earlier, I added, By the way, I apologize for not mentioning my name. The woman smiled, seemingly relieved. She introduced herself as Mary, explaining that she lived in this house with her husband. As I began to share my own story, intending to mention my husband, Michael, lying on the nearby bed, my words faltered. Mary seemed to sense something was amiss and gently said,
You don't have to talk about it if it's difficult.
But I continued, revealing details I hadn't even shared with friends, the illness that had befallen my husband and how I had overloaded myself with work to cope. Tears welled up, and Mary hugged me tightly, saying, It's so tough. Together, we shed tears, finding solace in our shared pain. As we continued talking, I learned that Mary's house was right near mine. Furthermore, our home was somewhat famous in the neighborhood, a large, standalone house, leading people to label us as an affluent couple. I chuckled, remembering how friendly neighbors used to chat with Michael and me during our walks. However, since Michael's hospitalization, things had subtly changed, and people seemed a bit more distant. When I mentioned this to Mary, she explained,
Everyone thought you two had separated, so they hesitated about how to approach you.
Through meeting Mary, my daily life gradually transformed. We became close with neighbors we hadn't interacted with much before, gathering regularly at each other's homes for tea. And as I witnessed Michael's declining health, unable to hold back tears, Mary always enveloped my trembling hands in her warm grasp, offering comfort. One day, Michael received permission for a temporary return home, marking our chance to spend precious moments together. This brief respite, our last shared time, was something I resolved to cherish with a smile. When I asked Michael what he wanted upon returning home, his first request surprised me. He wanted to meet Mary. During his hospitalization, I had shared stories about Mary and the neighbors who had taken care of us. To fulfill Michael's wish, I assured him I would visit Mary beforehand. As I walked toward Mary's house, I stole a glance at Michael. His profile, focused ahead, seemed to harbor a quiet determination. Mary welcomed us with her usual warm smile. Taking Michael's hand, she glanced at me and said,
"You're truly loved."
Despite my embarrassment, I retorted, "Well, of course." Our tearful laughter connected us. As I reached for the living room door to return after using the restroom during our conversation, I suddenly heard Michael's earnest voice from the other side. Instinctively, I let go of the door handle and strained my ears. It seemed like he was talking about me. Michael's voice came through.
Please take care of Kate even after I'm gone.
At that moment, my nose stung, and tears slid down my cheeks. So, Michael came to convey this. I thought as Mary's gentle reply reached me.
Of course.
I continued crying, comforted by her kind tone. Not long after, my husband Michael took his last breath. Though I had prepared myself, the overwhelming sense of loss hit harder than expected. Mary and our neighbors continued to encourage me during this difficult time. After a blank period, my determination to preserve the work Michael and I had built resurfaced. I resumed work, juggling supermarket cashier duties alongside it, determined to face the future head-on. As I continued with that life, about 2 years passed. After finishing my shift at the supermarket, I walked, stretching my tired body. Suddenly, a serious-looking man with glasses approached me. Lost, perhaps? I wondered. Without much thought, I asked, "How can I help you?" The man cleared his throat, smiled quietly, and introduced himself as a lawyer.
You're Kate Brown, right? May I speak with you?
A lawyer? What could he want with me? Although I had no clue, I replied, "Yes." Then he dropped a bombshell.
Your husband, Michael, has requested $30,000 in compensation from you.
Michael's name from the lawyer's mouth surprised me. And the word compensation almost made me drop my bag. What? Is there some mistake? I asked. The lawyer confidently explained.
We have evidence. Your husband's illness and hospitalization provided an opportunity for your infidelity.
He pulled out his phone, showing me a photo. In it, a man and a woman walked arm in arm, seemingly close. While the woman's silhouette resembled mine, I knew it wasn't me. This isn't me, and I don't know this man. Besides, my husband passed away 2 years ago, I asserted. As I turned to leave, the man raised his voice, urgently trying to stop me. The lawyer's confident words left me momentarily stunned. As he accused me of neglecting my sick husband while pursuing other men, I recalled the days when I tirelessly visited Michael during his hospitalization and worked non-stop. What did this man really know about me? Moreover, if he truly was a lawyer, wouldn't it be common courtesy to provide a business card? And why show up in person instead of notifying me through documents or a phone call? Shaking my fatigued head, I stared at the man before me. Realizing that arguing further would lead nowhere, I decided it was best to invite him inside. Looking back, it was a bold move, but perhaps my frustration with being invalidated pushed me to act impulsively. As I walked home with the man, we crossed paths with Mary, who carried shopping bags. She looked slightly surprised, but when I raised my right hand, she recognized the gesture and returned the greeting. I ushered the man into my home, convinced that he had manipulated me successfully. He chattered confidently about legal proceedings, but I ignored him and led the way. We arrived at a room filled with memories of Michael, photos capturing his vibrant smile from healthier days, moments during his illness, and even those taken just before his passing. The man, still claiming to be a lawyer, blurted out.
Is he really dead?
I added silently. Even if he were alive, this claim wouldn't hold. Glancing at the man, I noticed his pale face as he muttered.
That's a lie. It's different from what I heard.
As he pulled out his smartphone and checked something. I discreetly peeked at the screen from behind, and there was a photo of Michael when he was healthy before his illness. What does this mean? I couldn't help but speak in a hushed voice, feeling uneasy about the man having a picture of my beloved. The man hastily began explaining, claiming that he had purchased information about us, the wealthy couple in the neighborhood, from someone posing as an information broker. Their fabricated information stated, the husband of the wealthy couple is hospitalized due to illness, and the wife is mentally unstable. Furthermore, the information broker had fed the man a lie about my infidelity and even provided fake incriminating photos, inflating the payment amount.
I can't believe the husband died. That guy deceived me.
In this absurd situation where the man attempting fraud was himself fooled by someone else, I sigh in disbelief. Suddenly, the man who had been muttering to himself stood up and, with an eerie smile,
If it's exposed, there's no helping it.
a sense of foreboding washed over me, and a cold sweat trickled down my back. As he stepped toward me, footsteps echoed from the entrance, and several police officers burst into the room, shouting, "Police!" The moment I caught sight of that figure, the tension I had unconsciously held snapped, and I collapsed right there. Thank goodness. They arrived in time, I thought, recalling the encounter with Mary just minutes earlier. During that moment, the right hand I raised toward Mary wasn't a mere greeting. As I struggled with the loss of my husband, Mary said,
You can convey your need for help without words.
She taught me the SOS hand signal. Taking a chance, I used it this time, and Mary, who understood my distress signal, likely contacted the police on my behalf. As I gazed at the photo of Michael hanging in the room, I silently apologized, thinking, sorry for taking risks. Michael in the picture seemed to be laughing, resigned to the situation. The man, who had tried to deceive me, was caught in his web of lies. His arrest revealed a history of fraud. It seems he'll be facing a fairly lengthy prison sentence. The informant who had fed him false information was also apprehended. Later, when I visited Mary to express my gratitude, she scolded me for letting a suspicious man into my home. She had noticed my SOS on the street but wisely left it to the police. As she gently tapped my head, she reminded me,
Michael entrusted you to me. Please avoid dangerous situations.
Her words touched my heart, and I couldn't help but shed tears. Since then, with the help of Mary and our neighbors, I've been living happily. Today, I close my eyes in front of Michael's photo in that room once again and whisper, even in a world without you, there are many people who support me. You can rest assured. As I gently open my eyes, I see his serene smile, as if watching over me. Smiling back, I declare, all right. Let's get to work today.
How did you find this story? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.